You've never heard the story I'm bringing you today before. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is enjoying their day. Please subscribe and like the video before continuing. The Young and the Restless spoilers. Cain has the upper hand. Who will dare to take him down? The Young and the Restless, Y&R. Spoilers tease that Cain Ashby aka Aristotle Dumas, Billy Flynn, may have the upper hand right now, but that is about to change. Get updates on the latest news about the Young and the Restless straight to your inbox. We use your personal data for interest-based advertising as outlined in our privacy notice. What is this? With so many people wanting to take control of the situation, it is only a matter of time before someone takes a strike to dethrone him. There are so many people on the list ready to strike. The most likely to be able to get him is Victor Newman, Eric Braeden. But Lily Winters, Crystal Cullill, Devin Winters, Brighton James, and Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, are hot on his trail. Then there is Chelsea Lawson, Melissa Claire Egan, who recognizes Cain is running some type of con game. Lily does not trust Cain. Cain returned to Chennal City with the hope to reunite with his ex-wife and mother of his twins. He remembers the good times between them. However, Lily isn't as forgiving. She remembered how it felt when he broke her heart, not once, but twice. She cannot get past him disappearing for 6 long years and acquiring his wealth in such a scummy way. Lily believes Cain is just like his father Colin Atkinson, Tristan Rogers. She doesn't want to be associated with any illegal business dealings. The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest that Lily is dead set against any type of reunion with her ex. What is this? Not only that, she wants her brother Devin to help her dethrone Cain and whatever mysterious plot he has going on. Lily Winters sat in her glass-walled office at Chancellor Winters, staring blankly at the quarterly reports spread across her mahogany desk. Numbers blurred before her eyes as her thoughts drifted elsewhere, to the text message she received that morning. "Can we talk tonight? Cain." She exhaled shakily, leaning back in her chair as old memories washed over her. Cain Ashby, her ex-husband, the man she once loved so deeply it consumed her entire being. The man who shattered that same love into pieces she never fully gathered again. It had been months since Cain returned to Chennal City. At first, she thought it was temporary. A quick visit to see Charlie and Maddie, then back to his consulting job in New York. But he stayed, quietly renting an apartment downtown, reuniting with old friends, and subtly inserting himself back into her life. She didn't hate him. That was the problem. Despite everything, the lies, the secrets, the infidelity, her heart still softened whenever his name lit up her phone. And that terrified her. That evening, Lily walked into society, spotting Cain at a corner table nursing a whiskey. He stood as she approached, his eyes lighting up with that boyish charm she used to adore. "Hey, Lil," he said softly. "Cain," she replied coolly, sliding into the seat opposite him. For a moment, neither spoke. Cain studied her face, the delicate lines near her eyes, the quiet strength in her posture, the sadness she tried so hard to mask. He missed her so much it physically hurt. "Thank you for coming," he said finally. "What do you want, Cain?" Lily asked, folding her hands on the table. He sighed, raking a hand through his hair. I want us to talk, to try and fix whatever's broken between us." Lily laughed bitterly. "Whatever's broken? Cain, everything is broken. You lied to me, over and over again. I don't even know who you are anymore." "You do know me," he insisted, his voice tight with emotion. "You know me better than anyone." She shook her head, blinking back tears. "I thought I did." He reached across the table, trying to take her hand, but she pulled away. "Please, Lily," he whispered. "I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But I'm not that man anymore. I've changed." "People don't change overnight, Cain," she said coldly. "You've said this before. Every time you lied, you promised you'd change." "This is different," he argued. "I've been going to therapy. I've been working on myself. I've realized how much damage I caused. All I want is a chance to prove I can be better. For you, for the kids." She stared at him, her heart pounding. A part of her wanted to believe him, to run back into his arms and pretend the last few years of heartbreak never happened. But another part, the wiser, stronger part, screamed, "Don't trust him. Don't fall for it again." "I can't do this, Kane," she said softly, rising from her chair. "Lily, please," he begged, grabbing her wrist. His grip was gentle, but his eyes were desperate. "Don't walk away from us." "There is no us," she whispered, tears brimming. "Not anymore." She pulled her hand away and walked out of society, her chest aching with grief. Outside, the night air was cool against her flushed cheeks. She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply to calm the storm raging inside her. She hated that he still had this power over her, that a single conversation could unravel months of hard-earned peace. The next day at Chancellor Winter's, Devin noticed her quiet mood. "You okay?" he asked, leaning against her office doorway. Lily forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired." Devin stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "Did you see Kane last night?" She looked up sharply. "How did you know?" "He told me," Devin said. "He wants to make things right with you." Lily scoffed. "Of course he does." "Look, Lil," Devin said gently, sitting across from her. "I'm not saying you have to forgive him, but you do need to decide if you're going to keep letting him control your emotions." She blinked, surprised by his bluntness. "I don't let him control me." "Don't you?" Devin asked softly. "You're sitting here, distracted, hurting, because of one conversation with him. You're giving him that power. Maybe it's time to take it back." That night, Lily sat alone in her apartment, sipping herbal tea as she scrolled through old photos on her phone. There they were, smiling at Chancellor Park, Kane kissing her cheek, the kids laughing in the background. For a brief moment, tears filled her eyes. They had been happy once. They had been a family. But then she remembered the nights he didn't come home, the lies about Juliet, the constant fear of betrayal lurking behind every smile, the pain of watching her children lose respect for their father. She set her phone down, wiping her tears angrily. "I deserve better," she thought. "I deserve peace." The next morning, Kane showed up at Chancellor Winter's unannounced. Amanda tried to stop him, but he brushed past her, barging into Lily's office. "Kane," Lily snapped. "You can't just walk in here." "I need you to listen to me," he said, his eyes wild with desperation. "I love you, Lily. I've always loved you. I'm not leaving Chennal City until you give me another chance." She stood, her hands shaking with rage. "You don't get to decide that. You don't get to walk back into my life like nothing happened. I've worked too hard to rebuild myself after you broke me. I never meant to break you," he whispered, tears filling his eyes. "But you did," she said, her voice trembling. Over and over again. He stepped forward, but she raised a hand, stopping him. "Don't," she whispered. "Please, just don't." For a long moment, they stood in silence, the hum of the office around them fading to nothing. Finally, Kane swallowed hard. "If you ever change your mind, you know where to find me." She didn't reply as he turned and walked out, his shoulders slumped in defeat. That night, Lily sat on her balcony, wrapped in a blanket as she gazed out at the city lights. Her phone buzzed with a message from Billy. "Dinner tomorrow?" She smiled faintly, typing back, "Sure. I'd love that." As she set her phone aside, she felt a quiet peace settle in her chest. For the first time in a long while, she realized she didn't need Kane's love to feel whole. She had herself, and that was enough. But deep down, she knew Kane wouldn't give up so easily. His return to Genoa City wasn't just about the kids. It wasn't just about business. It was about her. And if she wasn't careful, his relentless charm might chip away at her resolve. But tonight, under the quiet Genoa City sky, Lily Winters promised herself one thing. She would never let him break her again. Billy Abbott is a wild card. Billy is hoping to convince Kane to swindle Victor out of Chancellor Industries. To make that happen, Billy must maintain some level of trust with him. However, Kane is sure to backstab Billy, which would turn their maybe partnership into a bitter rivalry. Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, urged Billy to talk to his mother, Jill Abbott, Jess Walton, about the situation and Kane's involvement. Y&R spoilers say that Billy agreed he needed to keep his mom in the loop, but he wanted to talk to Kane about Chancellor first. That made Sally nervous and worried that this could all blow up in Billy's face. If Kane crosses Billy, the Abbott wild card will be on a warpath. He will put all his focus on dethroning Kane and exposing his long con game. Billy Abbott stood at the window of his darkened office at Jabot, staring out at the sleeping city below. Neon signs flickered against the cloudy midnight sky, echoing the restless turbulence in his mind. Another sleepless night. Another night where old ghosts clawed at his sanity. He clenched the whiskey glass in his hand, feeling the amber liquid burn down his throat. It wasn't enough to silence the chaos. Nothing ever was. Earlier that day, Billy stormed into the conference room, interrupting Kyle's presentation to the board. "We're going about this all wrong," he declared, tossing his leather folder onto the table. "If we really want to expand market share, we should take the direct-to-consumer route. Cut out retailers entirely." Kyle narrowed his eyes, annoyed by the interruption. "Billy, this isn't the time." "This is exactly the time." Billy snapped. "We've been playing it safe for too long, letting Newman dominate innovation while we scramble to keep up. I'm tired of it. Jack would be too." There was a tense silence. Summer shifted uncomfortably in her seat, while Kyle rubbed his temples in frustration. "Let's table this for later," Kyle said firmly. Billy scoffed, shaking his head as he stormed out. Downstairs at Society, Chelsea sat with Chloe, sipping her cappuccino distractedly. "Are you even listening to me?" Chloe asked, snapping her fingers in front of Chelsea's face. "Sorry?" Chelsea sighed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'm just worried about Billy. He's been unpredictable lately. He's working insane hours, barely eating, snapping at everyone. I don't know how to help him." Chloe frowned. "Billy's always been a wild card, Chels. You know that better than anyone. He thrives on chaos." "I know," Chelsea whispered. "But this feels different. Like, darker." That evening, Billy met Lily at Crimson Lights. She smiled warmly when she saw him, but the worry in her eyes was impossible to miss. "Hey," she said softly, kissing his cheek. "How was your day?" Billy shrugged, dropping into the chair across from her. "Same as always. Kyle treating me like a child, Summer rolling her eyes every time I speak, everyone acting like I'm some liability they're forced to tolerate." Lily reached across the table, squeezing his hand. "That's not true." "Isn't it?" he snapped, pulling his hand away. "Come on, Lil. You see it too." "Billy," she began gently, but he cut her off. "I don't want to talk about it," he muttered, standing abruptly. "I've got things to do." "Billy, wait." But he was already gone, leaving Lily staring after him with tears brimming in her eyes. Later that night, Billy sat alone in his condo, the TV muted as he scrolled through old photos on his phone. Him and Delia at the park. Him and Johnny playing baseball. Him and Katie baking cookies. Each memory stabbed at his heart like a rusty blade. Regret, guilt, loss. They were always there, lurking in the shadows of his mind. His phone buzzed with a text from Chelsea. "Call me when you get this. I'm worried about you." He ignored it, tossing his phone onto the coffee table as he poured another glass of whiskey. The next morning at J-Bot, Kyle found Billy asleep on his office couch, an empty bottle beside him. "Billy," Kyle said sharply, shaking his shoulder. "Wake up. You're needed in the conference room in 10 minutes. Billy groaned, sitting up slowly as pain throbbed behind his eyes. "I'm coming." As Kyle left, Billy rubbed his temples, feeling the familiar nausea churn in his gut. He stumbled to his feet, splashing cold water on his face in the private bathroom. Staring at his reflection, he barely recognized the man glaring back at him. "Who have you become?" At the meeting, Billy was unusually quiet, staring at the table with unfocused eyes as Kyle presented the upcoming marketing strategy. When Kyle finished, he turned to Billy expectantly. "Thoughts?" Billy blinked, then chuckled darkly. "What's the point? You'll just ignore them anyway." Kyle's jaw tightened. "This is a team, Billy. We need your input." Billy smirked. "Don't pretend you care what I think. You never have." He stood abruptly, ignoring the shocked looks from the board members, and walked out without another word. Chelsea found him at society later that afternoon, sitting alone at the bar. "Hey," she said softly, sliding onto the stool beside him. "You didn't call me back." Billy shrugged, swirling his bourbon. "Busy day." "Billy, look at me," she said, her voice firm. He turned, meeting her eyes with an emptiness that broke her heart. "I'm worried about you," she whispered. "You're spiraling." "I'm fine," he lied. "No, you're not," she said, tears brimming. "I know you. I know when you're drowning. Please, let me help you." For a moment, his hardened facade cracked. "I don't know how to fix it, Chels," he whispered. "Every time I try, I just mess it up worse." "You're not alone," she said, placing a gentle hand on his cheek. "You never have to be alone." He closed his eyes, leaning into her touch, feeling the weight of his pain press down on him like an anvil. Meanwhile, back at Jebat, Kyle sat in Jack's office, running a frustrated hand through his hair. "He's out of control," Kyle said. "We can't keep letting him undermine meetings, show up hungover, lash out at everyone. It's bad for morale." Jack sighed heavily. "I know, but he's my brother." "He's a wild card, Jack," Kyle said firmly. "And wild cards sink companies." That night, Billy walked through Chancellor Park, the crisp evening air biting at his skin. He sat on a bench near Delia's plaque, staring at her smiling face etched in bronze. Tears blurred his vision as he whispered, "I'm sorry, Delia. I'm so sorry." His phone buzzed again. Lily. He ignored it, pressing his forehead to the cold metal plaque. "I don't know who I am anymore," he sobbed softly. "I don't know how to be okay." At that moment, Chelsea appeared beside him, kneeling down and wrapping her arms around him. "You're Billy Abbott," she whispered through her tears. "You're reckless. You're impulsive. You're chaotic, but you're also kind. And funny. And loving. You're a good man, Billy. You just need to believe it again." He clung to her, sobbing into her shoulder as the moon rose high above them, casting silver light over the broken man clinging to the woman who still saw something worth saving. But back at Jebat, Kyle sat in his office, staring at the financial projections with a cold, calculating gaze. "He's a liability," he whispered to himself. "And liabilities need to be cut." The next morning, Billy arrived at Jebat to find an envelope waiting on his desk. Inside was a formal notice from the board, indefinite leave of absence pending a psychological evaluation. His hands trembled as he read it. Rage and shame warred within him, burning like acid in his veins. He crumpled the letter in his fist, his eyes blazing with fury. Billy Abbott was a wild card, and wild cards could burn everything down or turn the game on its head. As he stormed out of Jebat, his mind raced with dangerous possibilities. Because if Geno City thought Billy Abbott was done, they hadn't seen anything yet. Victor will take care of business. The one character in Geno City that cannot be defeated is Victor Newman. He can spot a deception from miles away. He is clever, cunning, and doesn't mind bending the law to suit his needs. Victor was the only one who figured out that Dumas was actually Kane. He spotted the con and was on high alert to stop him. He hasn't figured out a game plan yet, but the Y&R viewers know Victor will find a way and make Kane sorry he ever tried to fool Geno City. Victor Newman sat in the leather chair behind his mahogany desk, the early dawn light illuminating the stern set of his jaw. Geno City still slept beneath his towering office window, but Victor had been awake for hours, strategizing silently as he read the quarterly reports spread before him. Business had been good lately. Profits were up. Newman Media's recovery was underway under Audra's sharp guidance, but trouble always lurked beneath the surface. It was a truth he learned long ago. Never let your guard down. Not in this town. Not in this family. Victoria entered his office unannounced, her heels tapping sharply on the marble floor. "Dad," she said, her voice clipped, "we have a problem." Victor looked up slowly, folding his hands on his desk. "Sit." Victoria sat, sliding a folder across to him. Inside were surveillance photos of Nate Hastings leaving a quiet dinner meeting with Tucker McCall the night before. "Apparently," Victoria said with quiet fury, "Nate's been in touch with Tucker for weeks. He's been feeding him confidential information on Chancellor Winter's upcoming biotech investments. He's positioning himself to take over with Tucker's backing. Victor's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenching imperceptibly. "That ungrateful bastard," he growled. Victoria flinched slightly. "I should have known," she said, her voice tight with regret. "I thought maybe he had changed." Victor's gaze softened slightly. "You trust too easily, my darling. That's your strength and your weakness." "What do we do?" Victoria asked. Victor leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. A small, cold smile spread across his lips. "We take care of business." Hours later, Victor sat in the private dining room at Society, sipping black coffee as he waited. Nate entered, looking confident in his tailored navy suit, his expression carefully schooled. But Victor saw the flicker of apprehension in his eyes as he sat down across from the powerful patriarch. "You wanted to see me?" Nate asked lightly. Victor studied him in silence for a long moment, letting the weight of his gaze settle over Nate like iron chains. "I know what you've been doing," Victor said quietly, dangerously. Nate's jaw tightened. "I don't know what you're talking about." Victor chuckled, shaking his head. "Don't insult my intelligence, boy. You've been meeting with Tucker, feeding him inside information, betraying my daughter, betraying this family." Nate swallowed hard, his composure slipping. I'm just exploring options," he said weakly. Victoria's been distant. "The company." Victor slammed his fist onto the table, making the silverware rattle violently. The waitress outside jumped, peeking nervously through the glass. "Enough," Victor roared, his eyes blazing with fury. "You think you can use my daughter, use my family, to get rich quick. You're nothing, Nate Hastings. Nothing without us." Nate opened his mouth to protest, but Victor raised a silencing hand. "I built an empire from dust," Victor growled. "Men like you come and go, but men like me, we endure, we conquer, we survive. Remember that." Nate's hands trembled under the table as Victor leaned back, his cold smile returning. "I'm going to give you a choice, Nate," Victor said softly, almost kindly. "You can resign from Newman today, quietly, respectfully, with a severance package that will keep you comfortable. Or you can refuse, and I will destroy you so completely, you won't find work sweeping the floors at Crimson Lights." Nate's breathing quickened. Sweat beaded along his hairline. He knew it wasn't an empty threat. This was Victor Newman. He could end lives and careers with a single phone call. I'll resign," Nate whispered shakily. Victor nodded. "Good choice. And if I ever see you near Victoria or Newman Enterprises again, it won't just be your career I end." Nate stood quickly, nearly tripping over his chair as he fled the dining room. Victor sipped his coffee calmly, savoring the rich bitterness as he watched the young man scurry away like a frightened child. Later that afternoon, Victor called Victoria back into his office. "It's done," he said simply. Victoria sank into the chair opposite him, her shoulders sagging with relief. "Thank you," she whispered. Victor reached across the desk, placing a gentle hand over hers. "You are my daughter. No one uses you. No one." Her eyes filled with tears. "I should have seen it coming." "You have a good heart," Victor said softly. "Never let this town harden it. That's why you have me." Meanwhile, across town, Tucker McCall sat in his suite at the Grand Phoenix, swirling his scotch as Audra entered quietly. "He's out," Audra said with a sly smile. "Nate resigned this afternoon." Tucker smirked. "And Victor?" "Handled it himself," Audra replied. "Classic Newman style." Tucker chuckled darkly. "Victor thinks he's won, but the game is only beginning." Back at Newman Enterprises, Victor stood alone by his office window as the sun dipped below the Genoa City skyline. The city glowed golden in the fading light, his empire sprawling before him. A kingdom he built with his bare hands. A kingdom he would protect until his dying breath. He thought of his children, Victoria, Nick, Adam, Abby. Their struggles, their betrayals, their victories. He loved them fiercely, even when they disappointed him. Especially then. Because at the end of the day, business was business. But family was everything. His phone buzzed with a text from Nikki. "Dinner tonight at the club? I'd miss you." A rare, genuine smile softened his stern features. "Of course, my darling. I'll be there soon." As he gathered his briefcase, Victor cast one last look around his office. Another day, another crisis handled, another enemy silenced, another threat neutralized. Because Victor Newman always took care of business. Hand in Genoa City. Everyone knew it. But in the shadows, Tucker McCall watched and waited. Because while Victor Newman had won this battle, the war for Newman Enterprises was only just beginning. And Tucker was ready to play.